If you want to have an extremely successful residency interview, be ranked number one by programs, and ultimately match into your program of choice, then please be sure to watch this video until the end. I'll be sharing with you some secret tips and tricks for residency interviews. And if you like this type of content, please be sure to power up that like button, hit subscribe, and that notification bell so that you never ever miss another video like this. One of the most underrated parts of preparing for residency interviews that applicants do not do enough is to review their own residency application. This is even more important if you apply to more than one program or assign different personal statements or LORs to different programs, because it is an absolute guarantee that the interview panel will be drawing from different aspects of your residency application to ask you questions in the residency interview. So if you have any research listed, especially if you are applying to a program that has a lot of emphasis on research, such as anesthesiology or radiology, then be sure that you review the research that you input on your application, and you can be able to answer questions easily and accurately. If you had mentioned research articles that were submitted for review but have not been accepted as yet, you have to know the status of those different research articles in case you're asked about their progress. So depending on when you wrote your personal statements, a lot of time might have already passed. So it's very important that you quickly read your personal statements again, because if you have any important personal cues that you mentioned or scenarios or stories from your life that you mentioned in your personal statement, you may be asked about this again. So always be sure that you review and you prepare adequately for any questions that could be asked from your personal statements. So this is another very, very important aspect of your application. So oftentimes the interview panel asks you about the skills that you mentioned in your residency application as a icebreaker or a way to get to know you better. So it's very important that you review what skills you listed and you can actually back them up. So for example, if you mentioned that you can speak other languages like say Spanish or German or French, there might be an interviewer on the panel that can also speak that language, and they can even start the interview by speaking that language. So if you watch my other residency videos, you'd see why it's very important that you never ever rely on any aspect of your application, because things like this can occur during your interview. Another way that you can make your interview more memorable and more interactive is to have a sample of whatever you discussed. So let's say that you enjoy art or calligraphy. You can have like lots of samples printed out and just show them like, hey, like this is some of the stuff that I enjoy working on. And it's very important that you mention that naturally throughout the interview. Don't just randomly show them art when they didn't ask you anything about that. So that is a very important tip. And if you have any unique experiences listed in your residency application, always make a note of that as well and list out some talking points for those. For example, you did some volunteer experience in Cambodia or some foreign country, or just different aspects of your application that other applicants may not typically have. Always prepare for questions to be asked about those unique experiences. And this is another crucial point for interview prep, and that is to prepare talking points. So bear in mind that I did not say rehearse what you're going to say or memorize your answers, because it's going to show and it's not going to seem authentic or honest and might even come off a bit robotic and obviously rehearsed. You want to be very sincere in your interviews. So just have talking points or bullet points on things that you want to bring out in your responses, but not like word for word responses. Why it's important to do that is because you do not want to be thrown off or like stuttering for a minute or two because the question just completely caught you off guard and you did not prepare for it. Some questions that can cause applicants to act like that is if they are asked about red flags. It's always important not to sit and hope that they won't ask you about red flags, but be prepared to answer those questions and face them head on. So if you have any red flags like you're an old IMG, or you have repeats, or USMLE attempts, or a low score, be prepared to address these red flags and answer them confidently. Always try to relate these red flags into some sort of a learning point, or how those different experiences can even make you into a strong candidate or a unique candidate for that residency program. Next, you want to be able to critique yourself. Oftentimes in residency interviews, common questions include, what are your weaknesses? How do you handle working with someone who has been difficult? So those type of behavioral questions are very important for you to prepare for. An important point is that you can think of different anecdotes or stories that can really emphasize your points and make it memorable. But remember, for these talking points or stories, always practice them with someone else, because what might be interesting to you might not be interesting to someone else. And maybe you're giving details and the story is kind of dragging on and not getting to the point. So always prepare or practice with someone else. You also want to prepare talking points on questions that may ask you to critique the program or specialty. Like they could ask you, what challenges do you think pediatrics will face in the future? Or what is your least favorite aspect of internal medicine? So you have to know how to answer these questions in a way where you're still being positive, you're still highlighting the point that you are the ideal candidate for that program. You want to always be confident and positive. And if you are liking this video so far, please be sure to power up that like button, hit subscribe, and the notification bell so that you never ever miss another video like this. Okay, so the next point is researching the programs. So this is a very important part of interview prep that every applicant should do. So it's important that you research the program so that you avoid asking questions where the information is already listed on their website. For example, you're asking, hey, where do we go for different rotations? Where it clearly states on the website that they go to X place, Y place, and Z place. So at that point, you're just showing them that you did not even read what's on their website or remember it in order to prepare adequately for that interview. A better way to formulate a question about the residency program is to say, hey, I see that, residents rotate at this location. What are some of the challenges that they face there? Or what are some highlights of rotating here and there? So that would show them that, yes, you did do research and you are curious about the inner workings of those different rotations. So basically, the point that I'm trying to drive home is that don't ask them basic questions that are clearly listed on their website. However, you can do that if you take the question one step further. Okay, so the next point is to always know what is that program's mission or goal, and as well as the patient population that they will serve during residency. This is important because if you're being asked questions about your own experiences, if you have experiences that align with the program's mission or the program's patient population that they serve, you can intertwine those unique experiences of yourself and the program to highlight that you are a perfect or ideal match for that program, and that your past experience and your future goals align with that of the program. And that is basically what I'm trying to say in this final point, which is find commonalities. But some other commonalities that you can find is that if you see that the residency program is doing research in specific topics and you've also done research in those topic areas as well, that is a commonality that you can bring up. Another aspect is looking at what your interview panel has done in terms of research or different aspects in their career that aligns with yours. Of course, you don't want to like randomly bring it out and be like, hey, I saw that 365 days ago you posted this on your Instagram. Like, no, that will be very weird. So avoid doing that and just try to be professional, follow the line of questioning, and bring points where appropriate. And that is a perfect segue into our next point, which is prepare questions to ask the panel. Oftentimes, applicants are just preparing to answer questions. What should I say? How should I say it? What source should I include? But you have to know that the interview is a two-way conversation. It's a conversation, right? So you have to prepare questions to ask as well. And when you have those questions prepared, it shows interest and it shows that you have done research and you genuinely are interested in that program, right? So that's another main reason why you should always research programs, because based off of that research, you will be able to formulate your list of questions to ask, and always have questions to ask. So the next thing is to buy what you need for the interview. So of course, the face of residency interviews have changed in the last 2 cycles. So there are things that you will need to buy for any virtual interviews. So this list will include things like lighting, a proper camera, ensuring that your background is professional and not distracting, ensuring that your surroundings are quiet, having a very professional outfit, and also ensuring that your audio is very good as well. Last year, program directors mentioned interviewing some applicants and they could just see like this shadowy figure and not really a clear outline of who they're actually talking to. So yes, your application is important, but also your appearance for your interview is also important as well. So you can ensure that you prepare by purchasing high quality lighting, camera, background, outfit, and audio, and ensure that you do a test run before your interview. Next thing that you have to do is to choose your interview date carefully, especially if you're one of those lucky persons that have several interviews. You want to make sure that nothing overlaps and you're not continuously changing the dates because, hey, you forgot that you had an interview at this time on this day. So always choose your interview date carefully, especially if you have other personal or work obligations. Just make sure that you choose your interview date, because the last thing you want is that you would need to reschedule, but unfortunately they don't have any slots available for that to happen. So because of an error in you scheduling your interview dates, you might end up just missing that interview completely. So of course, you need to practice. So for practicing, you don't want to just talk to someone over the phone, but you want to actually practice in person or practice through your camera, like a virtual interview, so that you can pick up on any potential bugs or anything that's wrong with your lighting or camera. And this way, if you're practicing with someone else, you'll be able to get feedback on what you're doing in the interview. It's very important that the person that you're practicing with not only looks at like what you're saying or listens to what you're saying, but also looks at your nonverbal cues. For example, if you are fidgeting too much, if you are looking up at the ceiling most of the time while you're answering and not really engaging with the interviewer and maintaining eye contact, they have to look out for those things as well. So what you're saying, how you're saying it, and your nonverbal cues. Crucial tip is to prepare for things or every single thing to go wrong. This can be a scary thought, and of course during this journey it's so mentally draining and challenging. You want to have a positive mindset, but you also need to be prepared and be realistic, and in life things can happen. So for example, if your Wi-Fi goes out, Ensure that you have maybe a hotspot of some sort that you can connect to so that you can just pick up where you left off with that interview. If you are rushing to get ready and then coffee just spills onto your shirt, you're not like freaking out and just hope that, hey, they don't see it when it's like right at your collar, where of course they will see it. Be sure that you have a backup outfit. And let's say that all of a sudden your laptop decides that, hey, I need to do an update right now that will take 2 hours. So have a backup device, or ensure that your devices are updated before your interview so there are no delays whatsoever. Or let's say that suddenly your light is not working that you bought, it's just not working. Be sure that you just beforehand move to different locations in your house or wherever you are that you will be doing their interview, that you will know where is the best lighting or natural light that you can get so that the interview panel can see you clearly. So you will know what to do. So if the lighting stuff works, you can just be like, okay, I'm just going to go to this spot and I'll be good. So you won't be fumbling around and wasting too much time. You'll know exactly what to do. So always have a plan B. Another thing that could go wrong, and it happens to a lot of people, like you prepare, but then you just feel like your brain just goes completely blank and you just forget things. So what you can do is have little sticky notes pasted around the frame of your laptop or your computer that can be like bullet points or talking points about what you want to mention for certain questions or what you want to ask them. You can just have them there, because if it's on the screen, it does not look like you're looking away and it still seems like you're maintaining eye contact with them and no one will know. So that's the amazing tip right there. And this is a big one. Make sure that all your devices are muted. For example, for some phones, even if you mute your phone, but you have an alarm set, it will ring out loud regardless of the setting on your phone. So be sure that no alarms are set during the time of your interview and you have everything muted. And be sure that you close all of your browsers, because the last thing you want is a random YouTube video to start playing in the background because you hit the space bar accidentally and you press play, or you hear a loud notification when an email comes in. So basically you want to avoid all distractions from your devices and of course from your surroundings as well. So be sure that you are in a very quiet place. And most importantly, never ever ever forget to send programs a thank you email after your interview and tell them that you are ranking them number one. Because it's vaguely saying that you will be ranking them, that just makes them feel like, hey, she doesn't really want to go here, or he doesn't really want to go here. So yeah, be specific. If you're mentioning that you'll be ranking them, say you'll be ranking them number one. If not, just thank them for the interview and have a very well thought out email on what should be written. If you want a draft or a template or an idea of what to write in your thank you email, let me know in the comment section below and I may be able to create a video for you about that. But that brings us to the end of this video. If you enjoyed this content, please ensure that you are subscribed so that you never ever miss another video like this. Thank you so much for watching and good luck with this match cycle. Goodbye.